Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of Giles. Now, I just bought this only about an hour ago, and I've thoroughly enjoyed reading this. I went down my local market, great place for picking up all kinds of excellent old books. And this one's from the 60s. This is a 20th edition from Daily Express. I must admit, I've never collected any Giles before, which is terrible. I've been looking online but for Giles, and I think they can be quite expensive, but you can still pick them up in sort of second-hand places, shops, charity shops, as well as markets. And this one, well, actually I regret there was a couple of others, and I think now I should have bought those as well. One of those things, too late now, probably already gone. So, got a great little Sean Connery there. But I love all these sort of old comic strip ones. Just brilliant sort of books because they capture the time, they capture the period. This one starts September 19th, 1965, and you've got an Arts Council one there, reference to a thing that probably, well, obviously still relevant, but at the same time, it's really nice sort of, obviously that artist designed something, obviously the water pouring through the ceiling there through the window. And you're talking about, it's referencing lots of things, many ways. I think it's a pity that there's not sort of like a description underneath, given a bit of historical context. And if you had this book now, you would have to have historical context because you think, I don't know, was there a rotten harvest at the time? Was there rain? I assume there was. This one about obviously going to the beach, about the Tory image and things. And you've got about golf courses there. You've got obviously the NHS. So you've got the NHS there. You've also got schools. Remember that? With all the schools and all the various Merry Christmas cards. 1965, obviously coming up to November, coming up to the thing. I have no idea about this one. Man on TV uses four-letter word. Clearly, obviously, was an issue back then. I think it seems to be most of the time now. Who knows? Probably wouldn't be a story now at all, would it? Never did so many diseases suddenly break out, and I love this. No jump in the queue. Medical officer. So again, many of the jokes and references would probably be not so correct now. This one as well, Santa Mary Claus Cave, I should say, Mary Cave. And you've got obviously this Santa Claus bashing this kid. That would not probably pass muster now. Eat at Joe, and I can't even show that one, unfortunately. This one I think is definitely, and also quite often when you look at these, you think, is that the person in the background? That looks like Bill Wyman and Charlie Watts. I don't know. Maybe I'm taking, but I love it. Just again, obviously a picture of obviously London and the telephone box wrecked. And again, lots of people will probably look at these and think, what's that? What that weird thing? I know telephone boxes are still around, generally used for certain other things, and very rarely, unfortunately, did they ever work anymore? Anyway, that's a different issue. Whenever I've used one, they never seem to work. And certainly not for years anyway. You've got here someone coming in for a loan. I don't know about this, I knew someone who was on his way to school in Australia, doing obviously rain. There's quite a lot of examples of rain. So clearly rain was an issue. The weather is always an issue in the UK. Always an issue. Yet down the south today is the most glorious day. Beautiful blue sky. Actually quite warm as well, slightly, sort of. If you sort of imagine it in your head. It's warm, but it's getting warmer. Feels like summer's coming. So you've got all this, and there's just references to going, obviously not very smart to mention Russia. Well, I'm not going to continue to mention Russia in this, but obviously this cartoon has got a bit rough. So there's still, amazingly, stories that are mentioned then, 1965, and this was February 1966. And you've also got lots of, I love the fashions as well. You can clearly see the fashions of the period. Though some people look like they could be 40s, 30s, whatever. And that's the thing, of course, in a lot of the world, is that you've got people that spread over a period of time, like cars. Sometimes you see cars from the 1940s, 1950s. And you've got here, obviously, the fashions of the period. But you've got some jokes I just cannot show, because you just look at it and think, yeah, vote for me. 10 shillings to win, of course. Shillings, that really dates it as well, of course, period. And you got there, the dog finds World Cup. Of course, that's a reference to the World Cup going missing, the dog being... So again, lots of these obviously cultural references at the bottom would be really great. But some of these, I must admit, I do not know. Even though I was obviously lived through the period, but I must admit, you can't remember all the sort of junk of the time. There's so much. I mean, it'd be like turning around and saying, remember everything that happened to that. Obviously today, Prince Philip, the funeral of. So that's that's going to be remembered. But sometimes some of these references to like strikes or something that were obviously big at the time sort of faded away. Maybe not in the memory of the people involved, but certainly for the memory like myself. So you've got here, free premium bond if you have eggs. There's a chicken at the door joke. Blue films, we call them National Nature Week. Again, not something perhaps that it would, what's that, dentist there. You've got here about, I don't even know that joke. I don't know. See, some of the jokes I do not understand at all. But they are quite good, actually. They're still well done. The artwork is superb. And also the thing is about these in the game, one obviously going, because I love comics, I just love the crispness of the artwork. And it's very, very sharp. I think sometimes when you get reprint ones where you get these sometimes you get copy of a copy of a copy kind of thing. Sometimes because they scale them a bit. And as soon as they scale them, now I don't know what size these were drawn at. Maybe they were bigger. I have no idea. Maybe if I actually saw a copy of an original, it might be slightly bigger. It's very hard. But sometimes you get sort of books where you get scaled and it's scaled down to about a quarter of the original size. Never so good. You just look at the line work and you think, oh, so much is lost. So it's nice to look at it as this, and it's on and this is actually, the paper is still very good quality. I mean, this is not, obviously slightly brown, it's slightly worn, obviously been well thumbed and well read. And look at that. Now that going to Calais, I remember going to Calais. I loved going to Calais in the boat, and it's packed solid, and that, hopefully one day, those sort of things. And you got here, if it doesn't go on rationing, again, references to rationing, which is slightly odd. Maybe there was rationing. But 1950s, I thought was more rationing. Was it going on to? I don't think so. However, this one about royal visit, the 55 champagne, empty 55 champagne, obviously picking up the champagne there, and you think, wow. Well, 10 years before this is 1966, of course. Now this is getting into the World Cup, of course, England versus Germany, and all, of course, the other matches. And there's probably references to there. There's also references to other events of obviously even 10 years before, but of course that was 1950s. But to them, 10 years, well, it's like nothing, is it? I mean, it's like 2009, sort of referencing something that happened in 2009. Beautiful Bunnies, Bunny Club. Again, obviously referring to Hugh Hefner and the rest bunnies there. And this is the World Cup, of course, reference there. Moaning about too much World Cup. I remember the World Cup. Absolutely glorious time watching lots and lots of brilliant football. Had all the magazines. And also BOAC, Pan Am. References to, of course, people, companies that, as far as I'm aware, completely long. I love that TV series. There was a series, Pan Am. I really enjoyed that one. However, World Cup again. There's quite a lot of World Cup ones here. So you've got, obviously, people, grand croquet. Do people play that? I'm certain they still do. I have never played croquet in my life. Probably very enjoyable. But you've got here, build to restrain aircraft noise. Well, that didn't happen, did it? Though, to be honest, certainly where I lived over in the Reading area in Berkshire, and we had the Concorde go over, and you'd always hear that. I love going out to watch the Concorde go over. Hasn't been too bad where I live down in the south now, but I guess some areas it's pretty bad. Though not so many planes at the moment. So you've got here Super Bingo, Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturday, about bingo night. And again, rain, you're entering Sunnyvale upon the sea. Always references to, of course, the weather in the UK. Another one here about the rain again. Obviously, it must have been 1966, must have been raining a lot. I have no idea, probably. I love this, the fashions. You've got all the wonderful fashions of that period. And this is about talking about, obviously, the school uniforms of the period. Everyone's gone for all the latest, more space-age fashions that were very popular at that period. And then also about the travel allowance. Of course, that's a very topical as well. Speedboats, and then on to the last one. Actually, this is just great, an absolute gem. I must really look out for more. I must have this sort of period, 1965, 1960s, 1970s, Giles. I just think this is an excellent, excellent book. Very enjoyable read. And, well, if you want to certainly capture the period, capture the time of the 1960s, certainly middle 1960s, definitely captures it. Actually, weirdly, no, I think there was two mentions about the Beatles. Weirdly, pop music doesn't, things like Doctor Who, all the references to other 60s things, but the World Cup clearly was in politics, of course, which, but I must admit, absolutely love this. So, Giles, totally recommended. But again, you have to be, some of the jokes, maybe not